Continuing our program, we travel now to India to kick off a special hour-and-a-half with WDO member Confederation of Indian Industry. They have put together an exciting program for us highlighting design leadership in India. I am pleased to welcome now CII.
Welcome to the participants present here and the dignitaries with us at the India Dialogue of the World Industrial Design Day event. I'm Pooja Sanchla, representing CII Design Team. Would like to thank WDO President, Mr. David Kusuma, for inviting CII to share Indian perspective on the theme of leadership. Confederation of Indian Industry works to create and sustain an environment conducive to the development of India, partnering industry, government, and civil society through advisory and consultative processes. For more than 125 years, CII has engaged in shaping India's development journey and works proactively on transforming India industry's engagement in national development. CII has been earnestly pursuing the strategy for promoting and leveraging design towards accelerating economic growth. And CII has diligently worked to bolster and support the economy and society by demonstrating the vital role of design in making businesses more competitive and public services more effective. The World Industrial Design Day India Dialogue will touch upon the current scenario of leadership and key strategies for involving designers in critical decision-making process. With this brief context, I would like to quickly introduce all the speakers for today's session. Firstly, starting with Professor Pradyumna Vyas, Senior Advisor, Confederation of Indian Industry and Board Member, World Design Organization. Professor Vyas has more than 36 years of professional and teaching experience in different spheres of design. He is the board member of WDO and a former director of National Institute of Design. The next speaker with us today is the chairman of CII National Committee on Design, Mr. Udayant Malhoutra. He is the CEO and managing director of Dynamatic Technologies Limited, a world-class design, engineering, and manufacturing company which designs and builds high-engineered products for hydraulics, automotive, aeronautics, and security applications. The next speaker who will be joining us today is Ms. Suparna Mitra, Chief Executive Officer, Watches and Wearables Division, Titan Company. Ms. Suparna is the CEO of Watches and Wearables Division of the Tata Group company, Titan, and she has business experiences mainly in the lifestyle, retail, marketing area for 3 decades. The next speaker with us would be Mr. Mohan Krishnaraj, Chief Experience Officer, Wong Duty Infosys. With over 2 decades of experience in the industry, Mr. Mohan has proven track record of enabling UX lead business transformation for blue chip companies, including Capital One, US Bank, Walmart, Texo, GE, Airbus, and Sony. Then the next speaker would be Mr. Sumit Singh, Associate Vice President and Head of Customer Experience and Design, Havels, India. Mr. Sumit has over 20 years of experience working and creating award-winning design products, fostering creative teams, and establishing design studios. His expertise includes leading consumer-focused design, innovation strategy, craftsmanship, and championing evolution from product to experience design. We'll also have with us Dr. Ashish Mohan, Executive Director, Confederation of Indian Industry. Dr. Mohan is the Doctorate in Robotics and Mechatronics from Indian Institute of Technology Design. He has a total industry experience of over 24 years. In his current role at CII, he's leading technology, innovation, design, and IP initiatives. I would now like to welcome Professor Pradyumna Vyas to give his welcome address. Over to you, Professor Vyas.
Thank you very much, Pooja. First of all, I would like to congratulate World Design Organization and design community for celebration of 65 years of World Design Organization. Actually, this started in 1957, and initially it was for the industrial design, but now it has really taken the complete spectrum of designs and taking it forward. I'm really happy to say that all the board members are in Paris and we are celebrating it in Paris today, this eventful day. And actually, to look into the topic which has been given leadership in design. Who would be the best person than Mr. Udayant Malhoutra, who's chairperson of the National Design Committee of CII, is spearheading and taking it forward, coming from a very high-tech technology-led company, and Mr. Raghupati, who is there, who is taking forward with Ashish. They all are very thick and thin in the industry, and I would say that innovation focusing on, and now they are taking design as a strong vertical. I see that the definition of design is changing in 20th century, which was very much on consumer centric, and the entire design process which was developed based on that how we can consume more and take it forward, and which has really created some kind of complexities. And one can say that one is living in a VUCA world, which is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And in that, the definition of design is changing, design leadership is changing. And I see that sustainable development goals, I was hearing the previous panel where people are talking that, yes, economic development is important, but sustainability is also important. The social inclusiveness is also important to take it forward. So in all, one has to look into that how design leadership today is to deal with not only the profit, but a lot of other things which are coming out of it, and having more social and environmental aspect, focusing on that. And I must congratulate the Indian industry and leadership that who have really making a very strong move in this area, where yes, the development is happening, but side by side taking along the challenges which are there posed in education. Education leadership is also becoming very, very important, because the total shift in the design education policy is changing to address the issues, the complex issues which are faced. So I am sure that the very prominent panel from India who are going to discuss, in fact, the Titan is a company which I have seen for last 30 years have always focused on design as a strategic tool for social, sustainable, and economic development. And similarly, if you see the Infosys, which is IT company, a very powerful company in India, where the leadership connecting with the design, becoming a part of the total management, and the Havels, which is multinational company, and how they are spearheading design. So the leadership today we have that they are going to share with us, and I'm sure we all are going to get industry Indian industry perspective that how we are taking it forward. Finally, I would just like to mention that we are living in a very challenging time. Design certainly is becoming very, very important aspect, because design approach or design process is more of a systemic way dealing with issues. And when you see that the design thinking is becoming a buzzword now, each industry is trying to expose their people from all categories to give kind of inputs in design, so they can take it forward in a way. So I would like to again reiterate that the design is very important, and 29th June is a very important day to remember that we have to take forward design in a holistic way for the emerging changes. And I wish the great success of this 24 hours marathon celebration of 29th June, which is happening, and looking forward to knowing more about the leadership in design, which is emerging now. Thank you very much, and over to Pooja. Thank you, Pooja.
Thank you, Professor Vyas. May I now request Mr. Udayant Malhoutra to kindly give his address. Over to you, Mr. Malhoutra.
Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to everyone from India. On behalf of CII, I'm happy to extend a warm welcome to this August gathering of design connoisseurs present today here from across the world to celebrate World Industrial Design Day. I'd like to congratulate World Design Organization for completing 65 years as the international voice of industrial design. The theme today for the conference is leadership. And it's relevant in the current context where the world is dealing with an unprecedented situation, rapidly rising inflation, which calls for strong leadership to unfold new opportunities and to make headways towards success. Leadership is about recognizing that everyone has to start somewhere and that many people have unrealized potential that needs to be developed. A strong design leader is able to bring out individuals' talents and to steer their teams in the right direction. Jack Welch, the legendary CEO of GE, he once said, before you're a leader, success is all about growing yourself. When you have become a leader, success is all about growing your team and growing others. In other words, leadership has little to do with the leaders themselves. It's about the people they lead. To build a culture of design and to elevate the quality of design across a company, design leaders must be transparent about the process, educate people internally about its value, and advocate for its use across the organization by helping other teams to get the design resources they need. The influence of a leader, good or bad, can resonate throughout an organization. It can motivate teammates and provide them with a purpose and direction. Good leadership can help to establish company culture, develop direction of an organization. Any successful business leader recognizes that delegation is essential. This should lead to building leaders for future enterprises. It's important that leaders are able to spot people who are rising on their career trajectory and to let them take the next step upwards in the management of design. Design opens up valuable opportunities for businesses. Its importance is often underestimated, but good design can bring some significant business benefits. The research and prototype stages of the design process can generate new product ideas and allow you to discover your customers' needs and preferences. When setting bold strategies that call for changes in the direction or capabilities of the organization, consider the leadership gap. One of the first questions we ask ourselves that do we have the leadership we need for the strategy we've set? With those initial remarks, I'd like to add that we at CII have recognized the need of design investment and the adoption of good design principles, the necessity for Indian industry's wholehearted acceptance of making design an intrinsic component of innovation as necessary for economic growth and also a healthy bottom line. The CII National Committee on Design is the driving force behind CII's Design Excellence Awards, India Design Book, CII's annual design summits, and new initiatives like iDesign training program, the Young Designers Award, Design Hackathon, Design Talk series, all of which have had a significant impact in assisting Indian industry to face adversity, reach out to global markets, and to scale up their operations. We strongly believe in order to increase the involvement of designers at the high table, at the leadership level, we need to launch design as a movement across the nation and target achieving following goals. One, to design a necessary policy for encouraging design leadership in organization frameworks. The second is to empower the leader to create effective roles, to develop capabilities, recognize efforts, and to enable continuous improvements. Third, to encourage design leaders to communicate about leadership tasks and design capability to other business functions. The World Industrial Design Day, the India Dialogue, will touch upon the current scenario of design leadership in India and key strategies for involving designers in critical design and decision-making processes. With these remarks, I sincerely hope that the World Industrial Design Day discussions will go a long way in shaping the design leadership spectrum across the globe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Udayant Malhoutra, for your insightful remarks. Now we would like to leverage this global platform for some key announcements of the design initiatives here. First being the release of CII Stride Journal, second edition. I would request my colleague to kindly share the release PPT on the screen. Thank you. The STRIDE, which also abbreviates the scope and theme of the journal Science, Technology, Research, IP, Design, and Entrepreneurship, is the journal that features original, unique, and impactful technology and design innovations and IP accomplished by industry, academia, and research institutions, thereby providing leadership to India in taking long, decisive steps in the direction of design innovation excellence. Thank you for that. With this, we also want to announce the launch of the CII initiative for young designers. So I would again request my colleague to have the presentation up on the screen. Confederation of Indian Industry, in collaboration with World Design Organization, is launching the Young Designers Awards 2022 for the young professionals, which will be future champions. While discovering and nurturing the generation of design talent, the awards will help the design professionals develop their skills through cross-learning opportunities and networking with key industry players in the domain. As an early indicator of success for the products in the concept stage and yet to be launched in the market stage, the awards lets young designers under the age of 30 years to register products, systems, and services for commercial value generation. The applications will be accepted in 6 different categories: communication design, product design, mobility design, service design, spatial design, and design for social impact. The winners will be awarded cash prize, and top 25 shortlisted participants will receive certificate of merit along with other benefits offered. We would like to thank our corporate partners, Titan Company Limited, Philips India, Pidilite Industries, Luxury Writing Instruments for supporting us in this initiative. For more information, you can visit our website and contact us on the given email address. We will be shortly sharing the link for the Young Designers Awards and STRIDE Journal launch edition in the chat box for all the participants to access. With this, may I now hand it over to Dr. Ashish Mohan to kindly take the session forward.
Thank you, Pooja, and heartiest congratulations to the complete designers community today on this auspicious occasion of World International Industrial Design Day. It's a feeling of pride when we say that as designers, we are able to contribute to the sector and to the overall field and to the domain, and through that, contribute to the economies by working on various aspects of the product, of the processes, and the designs. My congratulations to the World Design Organization for organizing this around the marathon celebrations for the Design Day. And I would also like to congratulate researchers, innovators, and all the eminent speakers here who are celebrating this day and exchanging their thoughts, their leadership experiences. The theme of today's celebration, today's WDO has actually given this theme of design for leadership. It's so very apt. We have to see designers actually taking decisions in the boardrooms. And towards that, I think we have some very good discussions lined up today. We have three prominent speakers. I would like to once again welcome from my side, Ms. Suparna Mitra, Mr. Mohan Krishnaraj, and Mr. Sumit Singh, who will be exchanging and sharing their views with each other. Three speakers, so I would like to design and organize this session like a conversation, more in a conversation mode, but every speaker gets some 10 minutes to share their thoughts, and then followed by some quick 1 or 2 questions, which we'll take from the audience as well. We have the first speaker, Ms. Suparna Mitra. Welcome, ma'am, and look forward to hearing from you, your views. Your views, please. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Thanks to CII, and I'm really happy to be speaking to an august audience on this occasion of the World Industrial Design Day. Titan, as you know, is synonymous with excellent design. In fact, design has been one of the main pillars of success over the last 3 decades and more, in which Titan Company has done exceptionally well in all the categories it has entered. Of course, we started with watches, which was the first category, and then jewelry, eye care. Now we have businesses in accessories, in fragrances, in Indian wear, and in all of these categories, design is the bedrock of the sustained excellence. So design as a source of sustained competitive advantage is something that I would like to speak on. I know we are talking about design and the leadership of design, but really, to me, leadership is about serving the customer. Leadership is about really understanding the customer, both the said and the unsaid needs, and then making a complete solution. So, you know, maybe 10 years back, 20 years back, the conversation was about product design or industrial design. And I think what has happened in the last 5 years or so is that design has become about solution design rather than about a specific product or a specific service. Almost all products have an angle of customer experience or service which has got embedded into it. I will take the example of the watches and wearables division, which I've been a part of for more than 16 years now. And we were always about watches. Titan, of course, is the leading brand in India and has continued to maintain its leadership status. But in the last 4 or 5 years, we have seen that the conversation has also now moved to and started including smartwatches. And as somebody who's worked in the watches category and deeply engaged in watch design over the many years when I was a marketing head, today the conversation is about an overall experience. So for a smartwatch, for example, you have the device, you also have an app. And I always say that earlier, the decision point of the customer with respect to the design of the watch was the day that the person would go and buy the watch, either online or in person. Today, when you buy a smartwatch, the real exploration and experience of the design starts on the day you buy the watch. Because in a smartwatch, you will have many parameters, many sensors, many metrics that are getting captured every day. And those are the ones that come onto your app. So the app UI/UX is a very important part of the design. You can't just say that my smartwatch looks great, but the app design is not intuitive, not easy, and also it has to be beautiful. Finally, everything has to look very, very good. So this overlapping of an overall solution as to a product, and I mean, I'm giving the extreme example of smartwatch where you have the product and the design of the product, the way it looks, the way it fits, the way it feels, the material, the color, the finish, the overall experience is important. But equally important is a journey of the experience of the design once you've downloaded the app and you're using the product every day. Many of our smartwatches have a sleep monitoring function, which means that you have to wear the watch while you sleep. That is the entire duration. And I have personally, tried out many products, some which look very good when you're buying the watch. But if you're planning to, sleep 7 hours, 8 hours with the watch on, it's not that comfortable. And if you're trying to make it comfortable, then the sensor is not picking up the signals. So design has become a very, very inclusive and holistic experience for consumers. So I think in this entire gamut what I was saying is, it's not just about watches. Look at vehicles, look at cars. Earlier, the car designers would be, the beauty of the design would be in the design of the tail and the fin, the doors and the seat inside. But today, the design is also about the electronics inside. How smart is the car? What are the things that it is picking up? What are the different options it has in terms of connecting to the net and then downloading maps or downloading music or many other aspects which we all take for granted when we are, operating our lives. So I think this point about design being much more interesting and much more complex than what it was earlier. Similarly, for say something like a TV, smart TV, if you say something like AC. Now an AC earlier was just, what it would look like, but now it has also got this additional things of, does it switch off on its own? So this is the point that I think is what I have experienced, both as a business person, as a business leader, as well as a consumer, that organizations, designers, independent designers, we all need to focus on the not just the short-term need of the design of the consumer at the point of purchase, but a long-term, lifetime kind of need of design in every aspect of whatever the category is. This is really what I feel is the big change, the big shift in design in the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years, and it's happening everywhere. We see like I said, in the car or it's all about electric vehicles, which means the fundamental design shift that you're going away from a internal combustion engine, the ICE, which has been the standard for decades, to a electric vehicle where the internal design itself is something that is fundamentally changed, and it is required because that's the need of the hour. We can't be looking at, just taking from the planet and not doing anything to save it. So this is one point that I wanted to bring about, which is about the experience part of design of various products. And I think the second point I would like to bring to the table, which is actually connected to the last point that I said, which is sustainability. Finally, everything now is about the planet, the sustainability. Actually, earlier luxury would be about the most rare metal, and preciousness was an exclusivity. Today, the biggest plus point of luxury is sustainability, which means that if people actually pay a lot extra for the privilege of saying this is sustainable. And in terms of material, in terms of processes, in terms of the entire value chain of manufacturing and design, how much is the footprint? It's a very, very difficult task. I'm not even a sustainability expert, so I'm really not going to, go down explaining or trying to say. All I'm saying is that this has become an imperative for designers as we celebrate World Industrial Design Day. What is our understanding of sustainability? Is sustainability the starting point of any design? As a designer, when you're getting a brief from somebody, in that brief, is there any point which is mentioned, which is about the sustainability angle? If it isn't, then maybe as designers, we should be sending it back saying, if you're not going to tell me anything about the brief of this product that I'm trying to design from a sustainability angle, then, literally, I refuse to design. I need to understand what is the footprint of this. So these are some of the big shifts that have happened. They are shifts that are so visible. They're really everywhere around us. I'm trying to actually bring to the table to highlight what impact or what implication it has for the design community. What implication is complete holistic 360-degree experience have on the design? And what experience does the sustainability, the carbon footprint, or the amount of damage that you would do by making that product, and how we can really minimize that is the second angle that I would like to bring to this discussion. I'll be happy to address questions at a later point. So back to you.
Thank you, Suparna. Actually, you touched upon some very relevant points, and you covered perhaps quite a few important sectors. You touched upon automotive sector, you touched upon consumables, you touched AC sector. And I was really, the notes that I've taken towards the wrap-up session is the importance of the app that you have mentioned. I think that is going to be critical. You talked about sustainability and the aesthetics as well, which is important for the designers. I would like to put a question which we have just received from the audience, and I think it's in mind of many of us, is that you talked about these are the imperatives for a designer when interacting with his design. If we have to talk about this young talent, this designer to rise up to the ladder of leadership levels, what are the key leadership skills and the tools which senior designers should possess so that their voice becomes more influential in the boardrooms and they start taking more leadership roles? What are those skills from your view? Over to you.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting question. And I know you started by saying, how do we have design representation in boardrooms? I think one important thing that I would bring here is that, and this is not just true for designers, and I'm a career marketing person and now I'm in a business leadership position. One of the things that I did when I went into this role of a business leader as a CEO was to detach myself from the marketing function, which means that there is now a current CMO. I was earlier the CMO. Now it is her responsibility. And I need to not always take the position of being the marketing person in the room. And I have to spend extraordinary effort in learning sales and marketing person. I have to take extraordinary efforts in understanding finance, in understanding manufacturing, in understanding areas that are not my core competence. And therefore, that is when you become a leader for all. So if a senior designer is looking at a leadership role, of course, they are representatives of the function of design. But it is equally important that they immerse themselves in literally put themselves in other people's shoes. For example, if a senior designer were to get into something which is, they have to take the time and effort to be in the market, understand digital, understand e-commerce, understand finance, and only when all of that, those new skills come in is when the mind then gets reset to the next level. Otherwise, it'll always be that I'm a senior designer, I'm constantly only representing the design function. And then I must also say that in a boardroom, then you get slotted as that. People expect you to speak up only when there is a discussion on design. This is true for all functions. For example, if somebody were to get into a business leadership position from, say, the finance function or say the HR function, if they're only talking about their subject matter expertise, then it will get limited. The conversation will get limited. Their slotting, their branding. I think it's a lot about personal branding. And, we don't think of it like that. We think of each individual as just a person, but actually each of us is a brand. And my recommendation to a senior designer who's looking at moving out of the confines of the design, because now you're a real expert in that, but moving to another level, one is you should have the humility and the curiosity to learn new things. That is the first point that I mentioned. And the second point is to really think of yourself as representing all functions rather than only representing design.
Sure. Actually, you're so right. This would have definitely given some good directions to the young talent and the designers community in total. Before we go to the next speaker, we have 5 minutes, 5 more minutes in your slot. Can I ask another question, if time
Sure.
permits? What would you ensure? This advice was for the design engineers and senior designers. On the second side, as you are saying that we should synergize design with other functions as well. How should we ensure, how would you advise the companies to give priority on devising excellent design teams and investing and enhancing their investment in design and innovation? What should be corporate strategy to enhance their investment in design and innovation?
So design is an integral part of the innovation function. And in some companies, there is a separate innovation function. In some companies, it is embedded in marketing or product development or in merchandising or in the manufacturing. And in fact, in our own company, we have the Design Excellence Center, the DEC, which has designers from all the different divisions under a central head. And there is a lot of conversation, a lot of discussion at the business planning stage on what would be the next new innovations. And each function, people from each function bring their expertise. So the marketing person will bring the consumer insight. The manufacturing person will bring the manufacturing capability or the technical aspect into it. And the design function has to bring in the design angle to it. So I think the companies that do really, really well actually have work teams which are not about functions, but about projects or programs, which means that if I were to say, let's have a big launch, some path-breaking, say watch design. If people continue to be working in functional silos, then it is one thing. So if they're working as a team saying that we need to launch this path-breaking, a new innovative product, and it has to be done in so and so time and so cost. And then there is that team is then spun off as a separate team that is going and, charting its own course. It leads to a lot of energy. So when I'm saying investment, of course, there are things like R&D and there are things like having the research labs, having the technical capability. Sometimes you have to partner and collaborate with scientific or other educational institutions. Sometimes you have to spend money in, getting technical know-how, which then allows the designer to incorporate that into the design. And design beyond the point is technical. You cannot design. Finally, for example, in a watch, you cannot design a watch. You cannot be a watch designer until you know the intricacies of the movement, because it is the movement that actually dictates how much, what shape the final watch can look like. So I think to step back, the question was what investments. One is the investment in people. The second is investment in the structure and the organization. The structure of organization may need to be changed for designers to truly show what they're capable of. And third could be in things like patents or specific capabilities or partnerships, collaborations, alliances with either other companies, startup ecosystem, could be educational institutions, and a very lively and thriving ecosystem of innovation will actually up the design quotient in any company.
Super, very well said, ma'am. The lively and the thriving ecosystem, that is what matters, and that is what is going to take the whole sector forward. Thank you. We'll take views of our next speaker now, and then again, of course, time permitting, we will discuss further on it. I would like to now welcome Mr. Mohan Krishnaraj, who is Chief Experience Officer in Wongdoody Infosys. Mr. Mohan, may we have your views on this discussion of design leadership, please? Over to you.
Thank you, Ashish. Thank you so much. So Basically, I wanted to pick up this topic on leadership. And is it okay if I share some slides on this?
Yeah, it is okay. We will have 10 minutes of your views and then some 10 minutes for question and answers. So that's the way
Okay.
we have 20 minutes of interaction. So, yeah, please share.
Oh, there's no share for me. That's fine. I think that I can't share the. That's fine. So the
Just
idea
give
was
us a minute. You can start. Meanwhile, the WDO team will do the settings. Just give us a minute.
Okay, so we may start the conversation, but Pooja is telling that the WDO team will, the backend team will upload the slides. We'll give you the sharing rights.
okay. No worries. So I want to talk mainly on the design leadership and how this leadership is changing things in the future for all companies. And design thinking was more of a course that was embedded into a lot of organizations to make people understand what design importance it takes and how the leadership have shaped up from design thinking itself. So with that, I just want to introduce myself. Like Ashish said, I'm Mohan Krishnaraj. I'm managing the design for WongDoody as Chief Experience Officer. And of course, I have authored a book called The Great Balancing Act as well, which is more of how do you balance the expectations from the user standpoint for a design. From a design standpoint, there is an expectation always when a user gets into any kind of interface. It could be a digital interface or a physical interface, or it could be any of the offline, online ads. It doesn't matter where the users will catch the brand, but it's more of what experience they go through it. So that's how the whole book is based on. How do we balance that expectations? And every brand has its own way to express themselves and have a play on emotion or have an emotion tied into the brand that works best with the product and to the customer. So with that, mainly looking at what were the companies. We always talk about the big companies. We say Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 100 companies. So we always are challenged with who are the biggies. And today we are talking about unicorns and startups and who are the biggies who are investing. So there was in 1955, there was a Fortune 500 list that was announced. And how many survived? Not more than 71, approximately. Maybe the numbers can be here and there in the recent days, but 71 companies only have survived. So that clearly shows it is the age of digital Darwinism as well. So when I say digital Darwinism, whoever the companies really thought through what can disrupt us, what is the competition that can come by, and how do we make sure that disruption is part of our innovation. So those are the those are the companies who really survived through. There's a great book on 3-box strategy. It says, first box is to keep doing what you're doing best. And second box is get rid of what you're not doing well. And third box is very important to make innovation as your primary objective. And that way you're always feeding from the innovation to the first box, which then takes the feed to make the company, to make sure the company is taking care of any kind of disruption that's coming by. So also what mostly happened was, many of the years we have been looking at product as a protagonist, and we've looked at products, and we always used to get requirements documentation. Even today we get those requirement documentation from customers. Then we pursue that to be the holy grail, or that to be the main starting point. And then the world moved on to saying experience as a protagonist. People don't care about the products, don't care about how good is it, how bad is it, but what they care is what kind of an experience am I getting from that product or a brand. So that stays much more longer and referenceable, and also how customers give a word of mouth for companies and brands is happening only through the best experience that is delivered. So the source of the value creation has clearly shifted from looking at product as the main thing to experience. So the point I'm trying to make here is also, there are two questions that comes from all of this. Why are the leadership gaps widening? I mean, there are some companies who are really doing well that we saw from 500, only 71, 72 existed. And what happened to the rest? So where is the leadership gap in the rest, the larger crowd? And what are some great leaders, like the ones who were the part of ones who continued to thrive, have really grown well with what are they doing distinctively different? So that is something we wanted to understand. And when we look at that, there is a concept of thinking the world tends towards continuums. So at any moment, you're always going to be at a specific point along with the spectrum, either minimum, maximum. It could be like, it's always looked at the temperature, the speed and wealth and more. Everything is more measured on a continuum basis. But quite frankly, the whole leadership is not a continuum. And that has different types of leadership. And there is a tug of war between coexisting types. So there are some great leadership, which is, some are amiable leadership and some are vacant leaders and some are so clearly into, vital leaders. It makes it all because they have provided empathy as a big line of discussion for everything. And also they clearly have direction to lead the companies and take it forward. So what is expected and what are people beginning to expect from these kind of leaders? So when we look at some surveys, this something called it's a HBR org. We looked at all the data that what are the people expectation from a leadership. So some said very high ethical and moral standards and provide objectives and clear communications and should have flexibility, commitment, openness, all of this. If you look at all of the keywords that came out of this research, it was more to say the leader should have empathy. So empathy underscores every expectations, and it was the clear expectation from all of the organizations, some strong ethic and safety, self-organization. So all of that was part of the survey itself. So when empathy became the key driver for every leadership, then design has evolved to thrive in the age of that experience Darwinism. So how an experience Darwinism came into picture was only when you're able to empathize from a user standpoint. Who is your buyer? Who is your user? Who's going to use this application or a product, or it could be something offline or something like a physical product. But as long as we can put ourselves into the shoes and really solve the problem, it is very difficult. It's easier said. When you want to look at it, there's no one size fits all formula for this, because every user expects something very personalized to him or her. And how do we make sure the product delivers it? And it's a science in itself, because it takes a lot of human psychology study and I would say more on color theory studies, because it also takes it from a cultural standpoint. If you're designing something for US, the colors will be different. And there are color sentiments also. Like if you do something in red in Japan, it's how black is treated in India. So it's more, they don't like those colors. So there is different sentiments for different colors. At the same time, there is biological reasons also for designing. If somebody is using an application for more than 8-10 hours, you cannot use some harsh colors. You need to be clear about that, because after 40 years, 45 years, cornea starts losing colors if you have overused a color, particularly on like a banking application, the person uses from morning till evening. How do we make sure that those colors don't harm biologically? So that is one part of just color theory. But when it comes to experience in itself, people have different mindsets. When you go into a banking application, they're pretty serious. They want everything to be very clear. And when they go for a travel website, the whole expectation is very different. They're more in a jovial mood. They want adventures. They expect more of that side of the world. So the same person has different moods and variations, and it clearly goes with the types and moods that we can really build the whole interfaces or the product itself for them. So that brings it to the point where how do we make the leaders really think through design and create more human-based leadership and more people-centered culture. So when we say people-centered culture, it is not just about thinking user desirability. There are 3 segments also that comes in from a leadership standpoint, where you look at what the end user is looking at and how can we best design for them. At the same time, there is business viability. From as a designer's perspective, we could think of flying cars, but when it gets to implementation, it's clearly not possible, or it may not fit into the cost of the product itself. So the business viability becomes important. Technical feasibility is the key aspect, where the user desires something, but technically, is it possible to design something, and is it business viable? Does it make profit to the stakeholder? So if these 3 segments are considered from a design thinking perspective, then the whole it's looking across functions to problem solving, and that clearly intersects from an experienced design standpoint. So definitely from a if you are an experienced design person or a user experience person, or more coming in from a user research or any of these backgrounds, today designers no longer have to fight for a seat on the table. I mean, large companies like Nike, designer decides if the product should go to the world or not. So it's taken a really a big role in clearly those, because they were looked at from aesthetic enhancers and then they slowly moved up to become the market differentiator. If somebody had design teams, so they were looked at differently from the companies, and today it's mandated, it's not a choice. So the problem solvers became bigger when you're solving consumer problems. Those are the big problems people or companies want to solve. So designers started, and experienced designers started becoming important in the organizations. So, and then experience engineering. So when I say this, it's a design-led engineering, because we also, from the implementation standpoint, it is so important to get the functionalities up and running from all aspects. But is the functionalities findable? Can users easily get through it? So that is something the experienced design people will do. If it is not findable from a user standpoint, it doesn't exist for him. So how do we make sure that it is easy? There's no large learning curve. And quite frankly, if somebody buys a BMW, they need to wait for the person to come and teach them how to use it by the weekend, or they need to wait for it. I mean, quite frankly, that's not today's world. Tesla, you don't need to teach people; they just get it. So, companies have really moved on from setting up their help desks and setting up, technical people to help. They don't need all of this. You should treat the novice user as the most intelligent person. So if you can build something that anybody can use, it's not the responsibility of the users to have those knowledge. It is the responsibility of the company or the product to make sure that you deliver that experience that the user understands and it's easy to use. So with that, I think it's very much moving from a individualistic to synchronistic. When I say synchronous, it's more of the data that is coming in from different aspects. We do user research, we understand user mindset, we do market research, we understand what the market needs, and we also get the analyst view on the same thing. And also from the users directly, and the stakeholders have different expectations. So there's multiple data that is coming in. The data has to converge into design. And then the design has to converge with engineering. So there are different teams today. They all have to come together. Today, CMOs have goals of CTO and CIOs. It's vice versa as well. So all of them are coming together to make sure if the product has to be successful, you need to think users, think experience. So with that, I would just leave it with one saying that Xavier Pladel, who's the CEO of Volkswagen, told. Leadership today is about unlearning management and relearning being human. So it's a good saying. So I just thought I'll leave that saying with you all. And that's just a brief thing. I'd open for questions.
Absolutely. I think that was mesmerizing, I would say. You give such wonderful insights in this 10-15 packed minutes. We'll like to catch hold of your book immediately to read more insightful concepts on this. The correct balancing act, absolutely. You have put it so well. Expectations on brand and how brand interacts with the user, and the continuum in the leadership. I think both of these things are thematic in itself, and we can have at length discussions. But very good to know on these points. And the color theory and the behavior as a science in itself. These are some of the latest things and trends in design. I'm sure the audience would like to pick these threads up for further discussions. I have a couple of questions for you, taking forward the discussion and the points that you said, and that you have been instrumental in enabling a lot of business transformations for blue chip companies, which includes Capital One, US Bank, Walmart, Tesco, GE, Airbus, Sony, and currently also in your long-duty Infosys. Can you throw some light on design leadership traits across these companies? What are those critical traits in design leadership which you could observe in most of these companies cutting across?
So interestingly, the design leadership is much about simplifying things. I mean, everybody complicates it with a lot of frameworks, processes. It takes a lot to simplify things, and because it's all about making something new or redesigning something, or legacy modernization. So all of these are the aspects that any design leadership would face. So how do we simplify those? And as leaders, as design leaders, we need to promote a culture of creative aggression. When I say creative aggression, it is more where ideas are productively challenged. And don't slam the creator who's done that. Just get some kind of a criticism or creative criticism on the work that is happening. Let's look at the work as a work packet, not the person who created it. So then it becomes easier to detach sentiment from who has done it to what is done. And then this creator can do even better work when he gets the creative cohorts together. And also, when I say creative, it need not have to be designers. It need not have to be coming in from brand and ad agencies. It has to come from engineering. It has to come from technical lines and data science and data research. So all of these are people who would throw ideas. So I mean, creating a psychological safety to maximum learning from failure is the key today. That's how we can maximize the learning from their failures. And even in my recent, Wong Dodi life, we advocate a lot of philosophy of creative democracy. I mean, which is about tapping ideas from all ranks. I mean, the best idea can be from the fresh joining of a college. And trust me, we've really got some great stuff from the new joinees from the colleges as well. So, and building a culture of egoless and consensus-based collaboration is very important. And bringing in someone with seniority or tenure is not as important, but the ideas can come from anywhere. How do we encourage those? These are certain, from my past experience, that I've really learned, and these are the leadership traits that I would say from a design leadership standpoint.
Very good, thank you. That was indeed useful. Just an extension of this conversation. In your opinion, Mr. Mohan, how does diversity and inclusion help in achieving these holistic goals and delivering seamless customer experience? You would have definitely got a lot of customer feedbacks on your various interactions. So what are those key imperatives?
Yeah. Delivering meaningful experiences is more likely when people of different disciplines and backgrounds and areas of expertise share their thinking, their views on how something should be designed. I mean, when I say meaningful experiences itself has a lot to digest, and it needs diverse ideas and diverse backgrounds coming in and giving those expertise. And diversity is representation, and inclusion is about action, and belongingness is a feeling. So, traversing this spectrum, both within and outside the organization, will have significant impact on customer experiences. And even in hiring, culture fit is outdated. We have certain cultures. We need people to fit into that culture. Is gone by days. It's time to think about culture add, where we bring in people with diverse perspectives to solve complex problems and complex challenges. Only when we are able to add different perspectives, which probably the culture do not have it in, only then the diversity and inclusion will really work into organization. And it has to be truly followed, and really then meaningful experience will definitely be coming.
Very, very good. I think the audience and all of us have really enjoyed this, and some very useful takeaways have come. We'll move to our next speaker, Mr. Sumit. I would like to invite Mr. Sumit Singh, who is Associate Vice President and Head of Customer Experience and Design in Havells, India, for sharing his thoughts on the subject. Mr. Sumit, over to you.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you, Ashish, and everyone here. I learned so much already, and this is a privilege, of course, to be speaking at this event, and also, it is Industrial Design Day. I graduated from NID as specializing in product design, so it is something to recognize and be proud of. When this topic was given to me, about leadership, I had two choices. I had a choice about talking about leadership and how different is it from general leadership? Because when we talk about leadership, it becomes quite goes into quite generic management, like people, resources, programs, projects, etc. So here, I took the route of design because we need to be close to our roots. I believe that if we look at our core competencies, there is a lot to kind of float up and really value in the world of leadership for designers. If for everyone else, Havells is a product company. It is a industry leader in manufacturing a lot of products, home appliances, kitchen appliances, lights, switches. A very well-known company, even in outdoor lighting and wires and switchgear. So there is a whole lot of products that need to be delivered and made. And now we all know that we're moving from a physical product company to the experience products and services, which is very relevant in the current days. Everything is appified. There are IoTs, and people really want to use these new technologies as we move forward in the world. So there is for a designer, there are huge complexities to manage. And as a designer, we also need to keep things simple. What my talk will delve mostly into, let's say, what are the powers of design, which we should hone as leaders and put them up on a pedestal where we, kind of embrace the leadership and improve, the further progress of humanity and also organizations as such. I had a quick screen share, and let me try and
Yeah, I think we have now given rights of screen share to all the speakers. So maybe in your case, we can have this screen shares. Yeah.
All right. So here it is. Is my screen available to everyone?
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay. Let's talk about powers of design. There could be several. Here I would just talk about, four of them, which I would recognize to be the ones that we should, as designers, as leaders of design, keep close to ourselves. So moving on to the first one, of course, we spoke about this, and the eminent people here have spoken about empathy. Empathy, as we know, is the way that we understand our consumers, the way that we understand our clients, and everything around us. And the designer, with his or her key learnings and the abilities that they hone as they go by, have to have empathy towards whatever they're responding to. For example, sustainability, ecology, health and well-being are topics of the current times and the future. We're in a world that we have to kind of convert these understandings into real-time user needs. So empathy is something that a designer puts forward to the management, to the company, to the consumers, to all the stakeholders, whether they are from engineering, from marketing, from sales. These are the opinions that the designer or a design leader has to project forward. As an organization, there are several goals, right? The flag bearer of a user goal, the goals of the user, is the designer in the company or the design leader. There could be goals in terms of targets and sales, etc. But who is the flag bearer for the goals of the consumers? where whether we are giving them better experiences, whether we are making their lives more convenient, their tasks more easier, are all the all the functions that a design leader should do. So this is one core power that we need to always take care of and develop to enable design leadership. Asking new questions, right? So simply put, our job is to deliver on new designs, new problems to solve, right? And I believe, unless we don't ask new questions, how will this, come to new solutions? Because if we ask the old questions, we will be also ran. We will make the same products, same experiences, same devices. So this is a unique license that designers have. Uh, you know, for the lack of a better word, ask the fundamental, let's say, stupid questions. Ask the questions which which you want to learn about. Be curious. One could be innocent. One could delve into some amount of fact finding, etc. But these are the things that a designer should possess to lead the products, to lead with the new solutions that are relevant and meaningful for the consumers in the current times. Okay, visualization. This is a superpower. We know this. Designers, learn this. Any pictures of the future or vision or things like what next? Business and everyone around, we're all paranoid about what's going to be the next big thing. What is it? We as designers, we study trends. As designers, it is our goal to understand user behavior, to understand what's happening in the market, whether there are market gaps, what's happening in homes, what are the new behaviors, new lifestyles, and based on that, we always have a call to be projected, or a sense to figure out what should be the next way of a product, of an experience, of a lifestyle. So visualization is a key part of design, and we all as designers and design leaders should develop this and protect it and polish it and use the new technologies, new facilities, new softwares, etc., to always be superior in this. So this is one power or one design fact that we should always be taking forward. Finally, multidisciplinary. Now, one of the if you look at the typical organizations or typical businesses or any other working habitat, there are functions, there are sales functions, marketing functions, finance, HR, etc. And there is a design function, relatively new. But here, if you want to go to a marketing function, you have to study commerce, business, etc. You want to go into finance, you have to study accounts, most necessarily, and you join that department. But here there is a case of a design studio or a design department, which has a confluence of many disciplines. You can become a designer after doing art, after doing engineering, after doing commerce or any other discipline, as long as you have the have the intention of of studying design and taking it forward. So this is a fundamental difference between a design department vis-a-vis any other department, and we should cherish this, because this brings about a lot of opinion, a lot of debate, which is healthy, a lot of rich knowledge, and takes care of future proofing. It also takes care of the core strength of design as kind of cross pollinating, learning, finding new methods, new creative experiments to churn out better solutions. So again, I believe that being multidisciplinary is a core strength, and as design leaders, we should recognize this and communicate and take this forward. So thank you, and these are the couple of things I do have more, but for the current time, I think these four will.
This gives a good starting for the conversation. Yes, of course. If you could unshare your screen so that we can see each other full. Can you unshare your screen?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Sumit, again, a very useful thought from another leader. I think all three of you have given so much of useful and insightful points. You have mentioned particularly about empathy and necessity to encourage asking questions and multidisciplinarity you highlighted in particular, which brings me to a question that considering that technology and science design is at a cusp of technology and science in the current scenario. What are those new skills which are expected from the design leaders? So from previous conversations, we have seen what are the traits required and what are the behavioral patterns required. But from the skill point of view, if I may ask, what are those new skill set expectations from a design leader and which a designer should have to meet the current requirements, current scenario, skill set wise? Yeah.
So I think it's a very good question. Where my mind on this is that design over a period of time has already become quite fragmented, and we have super specializations and granularity within user experience design, with the product design, and which is good because the industry tapers towards kind of inducting those kind of let's say students or fresh graduates and designers. Where my sense is that we should be open-minded. We should be free thinkers, right? I think one of the eminent speakers also spoke about being always staying as beginners, right? New designers can be better than you, right? They can have such great ideas. So as design leaders, we should be humble. That is a core strength or ability that we need to have. The other thing is that we should also look inward and look beyond. So looking inward is that in our cultural context, for example, India, we should look at what our core strengths are and have the ability to develop them for future, so that we maintain sustainability, maintain a long-term relationship with our core and kind of transcend that to the future. The other thing is that of course there are new softwares and new technologies and AR, VR, ML, etc. We should always be open and kind of have our teams, etc. learn these attributes for execution. So these are the couple of things that can come to my mind while.
Interesting, yes, and very relevant as well. Sumit, another follow-up question to that and to your response actually is, we heard your views on the skill set requirements and expectations. What are your views on some of the key factors that the design decision makers ought to consider? The design decision makers ought to consider for the betterment of the society, for the betterment of the environment and the sustainability, which Suparna also mentioned in the beginning of our conversation. So what are those key factors considering sustainability and better society in mind for the designers? Your views?
So I think this is fair and square. We always need to have a matrix of sustainability in our design projects, right? As long as we have that goal, built in within our system of decision making, we will definitely deliver on it. And health sustainability is one of the cores. And I think, I think very well said, sustainability. I believe that our consumers and the discerning consumers do value this. This is something that even the young generation and all of us have kids, etc. And they know that these are things that we learn and we will grow with. And as sensitive designers and practitioners, we definitely have to build it in as a milestone or an objective in anything that we do in terms of design. Even here in my company, in my office, most of the products that we have are governed by a sustainable input. For example, and of course, health and well-being. So, for example, noise pollution. How can we lower that even in terms of air? How can we have better, more ethical products there? Water products. All of these things are extremely relevant, and they are the future for design thinkers and design execution.
Yeah, right. Again, you have shown some good insights for what should be the future aspects and the skill set for requirements for the designers. I have one question which I would like to put for a quick discussion. We have 5-6 minutes of discussions we can have, and audience have requested that. And this is, of course, Mr. Mohan and Mr. Sumit, both of you, please let's engage on this conversation. I think Suparna has logged off because of other commitments as well. So what is one major leading future trend in the design sector? In the coming 2-3 years, where is the sector going to evolve? The priority areas, the future trends in design sector, in your views, both of you, please. So maybe Mohan, you can share your views first.
I think from a very larger trend perspective, even Suparna touched upon a little bit on sustainability and so on. But I think when it comes to human beings, we are focused quite a bit. We've been looking at human beings for a long time, and everything is designed and planned and made it around human beings and their expectations and users and so on. But there is beyond human beings, there are other living beings. The design should and must take responsibility of building a planet that is more sustainable, more easy to use. So as a trend, life-centric design is turning out to be a big keyword and big aspect, which most of the organizations are focusing today. It used to be user-centric, human-centric, and all of those. But now it is more life-centric. We have to care about every living being around us for us to live better in the future. So that's how design takes responsibility from that. And of course, there is a lot of trends from AI standpoint and AR, VR and augmented reality and virtual reality and so on. There is many like metaverse, everything is setting up a virtual environment for retail, banking, where people can go virtually and live another second life there. So that is a different trend that is picking up as well. But when you put life science over it and see how we can design those better and have more concepts of sustainability, reusability, eco, and so on. So that adds a lot of different flavor to the design, and it's more emotional and more empathetic when you look at the world. To definitely do a better world. These two trends are majorly coming up. But as designers, I would say the responsibility would still be that how do we control the overload of technology on people, and how do we keep it only to what is to be delivered there's a great framework by Clayton Christensen called Jobs to be Done. So there's a very interesting framework where people can learn about it. There is one single job to be done for the user who will come into anything. So we need to understand that and design everything to make that one job easy, but not add too many things. So yeah, that's more of a trend, I would say.
Beautiful, very well said. The overload of technology has to be avoided, indeed. And I think the way the screen is shared at the moment, it was wonderful. The infinite convergence, right? So, Sumit, your views on this future trends in design?
Yeah, I think Mohan's covered everything. I would also kind of recommend that somewhere designers apart from this should also get inspired or get inducted into policy design. I think those are things that apart from industry, we need design presence even in governance and those kind of fields. I maybe it's not a trend yet, but I think it should happen. The big point also Mohan mentioned is about humanizing technology or keeping it limited. Yes, that's very very evident because right now when we do something, uh, anything and everything is possible. But whether it's ethical, whether it's really required, what are the repercussions, etc. Are some things that designers have to take in care because our work methods are also about kind of from conceptualization to prototyping and testing, right? So can we test all these things? Can we fail early or can we really show and tell as to this is required, this is not. So those are things that even in best practices that we should imbibe. Um, Also, I think that universal design is one thing that we should practice. It hosts all of this, but in a way that we are more pragmatic about the ecosystem and how we're developing things, scalability, modularity, and trying to keep things limited because there is an expanse of everything and choices, etc. So those are the key decisions or deliberations and partnerships uh, and trends that we should as designers and leaders uh, partake in.
Sure. Great. I think every point that you guys are saying are worth taking up as a thematic basis for some thematic discussions in future as well. And hence, we look forward for your further engagements in the CIA Design Summit, which is coming up later during the year, and other engagement events as well. Yeah. But before that, before I start talking about some other programs of CII on design, I would like to give a quick wrap up to this wonderful session. All three of you, Suparna, Mohan, Sumit, I must thank you guys. You have given wonderful insights on the design subject. You have given us some, some very catchy phrases have come out, and I have just jotted 4 or 5 of them. You talked about creativity, democracy. Now, these 2 words themselves are so strong, and I think Mohan, you gave this these 2 words to us. So, creativity, democracy means the ideas can come from anywhere, and it is the way we welcome the ideas from the new joinees as well. You mentioned about it. That was wonderful approach. That will actually lead to some kind of a cultural shift, which is also required from industry point of view. I must say, to encourage innovation and design thinking. Wonderful that was. Suparna talked about lively and thriving design culture. So again, the culture being one of the most key imperative and one of the key drivers in taking forward design leadership. So a lively and thriving design culture, which in a way is connected with creativity, democracy as well. And the customer and experiences are also connected. These same things can be exchangeably used. Another phase that came up is granularity in design. And that I think, Sumit, you mentioned about it. The granularity in design also is so very, it has a deep meaning where we should see how we can encourage our youngsters, young talent to take up design and see into the granularity of the subject and upskill themselves with the relevant talent and relevant knowledge, which came up during this discussion. You guys mentioned about app design and aesthetics as key to our product exchange, interface with the customers. That definitely is important. The color theory, the behavior theory came up for discussion. And looking inwards, that again came out as one of the key points of discussion. So I'm sure audience and all the listeners would have immensely benefited from this wonderful conversation that you guys had, and we really enjoyed each bit of it. I would like to thank all three of you, Suparna and Absentia, but all three of you for actually sharing your experiences, your insights, and your valuable observations in how to take design to the next level of leadership in the sector. I thank both of you, and we would like to keep connected through forums like this. WDO gives us some wonderful forums, and through various initiatives which CII takes on design sector. Talking about some initiatives from CII on design sector, I'll like to use the rest 5 minutes because we have been given a window till 12:59, and I would like to make use of each and every minute. So first of all, thanks to you guys for this wonderful session. Talking about CII initiatives on design and the Stride Journal, which was launched during the opening and during this session by chairman of our National Committee on Design. Stride is a journal on technology leadership, design leadership, innovation leadership, and IP. I would encourage audience, encourage researchers, professionals, and the engineering and the designers community to reach out to this journal. It's available at a single click. You can see it in the chat box. We have shared the link from where you can download it. It speaks and mentions what is industry doing, what is our academia doing, and what is our research ecosystem doing on science, technology, research, IP, design, and entrepreneurship. The inaugural edition had a keynote from Professor Vijay Raghavan, former principal scientific advisor to the Government of India. It had a keynote from Mr. Vipin Sondhi, who is chairman of our National Committee on Technology. And this edition is having keynote from Mr. Udayant Malhoutra, who is chairman of our National Committee on Design. There is a discussion on what are the key imperatives through which the design leadership can be attained and sustained for the sector to grow and for it to contribute to the economies of the respective nations and the world. I would like I would like to invite you guys to participate in contributing towards this Stride Journal as well. I would also like to use this forum to communicate about 3 initiatives on design, which CII is taking. One is to enable design sector reach its true potential. And the one is the annual CII Design Summit, which we do towards last quarter of the year, where we do thematic sessions, and many of the themes we derive from the discussions which Mohan, Sumit, and Suparna, you participated in. Like I have noted down this creativity in democracy and other things. Second, I would like to invite you all to participate in the Design Awards, the annual Design Awards, which CII does, which is in addition to the Young Designers Award, which we launched during this session itself. And third is a certification course, iDesign, which CII has launched for purpose of upskilling and reskilling by the designers community and the professionals to get aware of what are the latest practices in the design sector. And this is a certification course, and it's going on quite well for the last couple of months and years now. With this, I would like to once again thank the organizers, the WDO, the speakers, the eminent participants, and the audience for a very interactive and really enjoyed each bit of the session personally, and I'm sure every one of you would have on this World International Industrial Design Day. Heartiest congratulations to all of you once again on your day. It's your day, it's ours day, it's a design community day. Thank you once again. Back to you, Pooja. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mohan, and thank you all our esteemed speakers for joining us for this session today. We would also like to thank the WDO leadership team and the WDO core team who is working on this conference for giving us this opportunity. Thanks. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Pooja. And Dr. Mohan, indeed, as you just said, it is our day today, World Industrial Design Day. What a great session on leadership stories from India. I'm Natalie Dutil, WDO's Communications Manager. And if you're just joining us now, welcome and happy World Industrial Design Day.